Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday Morning Catholic, the solo version. Yes, my name is Joanne Mercierin, and if you know me from Monday Morning Catholic, I am your host and moderator. We have not been around for about 5 years now, but due to the events of the last month or so, kind of felt it's time to come back and give you our brand of education of all things Catholic. Now, some of you may know me as the pastoral associate for the Taunton Catholic North Collaborative in Taunton, Mass, and I've been there for about 3.5 years. Others of you, again, know me from the Monday Morning Catholic brand, and we had a show that ran, I want to say, is it about 200 and some odd episodes? That'd be about 4 years or so, with a cast of, not thousands, but 3 or 4. However, if you don't know it or not, 2 of our members have since gone home to God. Steve Kirby, who was a contributor later on in the broadcast, he, during the pandemic, but not because of the pandemic, was called home. And recently in October of 24, I lost my sidekick, Linda Reed. She was the big promoter and big supporter of Monday Morning Catholic. Somehow her death has helped me to see that I must continue this, and she must be pulling at me and tugging at my soul. So, hey guys, say a few prayers for me up there so we can do this right. You also might know me from any other thing that I've done in any of many dioceses over the last 45 years in ministry. But because of everything that's been going on in the church, I felt I needed to add my voice, or our voice, to what was going on. So what I'm going to do over the next couple of days as we leave the official mourning period and move into the conclave period is give you some education at, what is happening, what's at stake here. And hopefully you'll get to understand that, yes, we as laity do have a voice and we do have a role. So, with the Spirit's help, as in all things right now, let's start with where we are. Now look, we've all seen, a lot of us have seen the movie, Conclave, and some of us have read the book, Conclave. It's been around a little longer. And maybe there were some things in there that were spot on and other things not so much. But that right now is what everybody's impression of a conclave is. But a little education always helps. So let's begin at where we are at this moment. As I drop this video on May 4th, we are in a state of what's called Sede Vacante. And Sede Vacante means vacant seat. The seat or chair of Peter has been vacant since Easter Monday, when our dear beloved Pope Francis passed away. I will say that was a shock, but it wasn't a shock. It's just when it happened. We all thought he was on the mend, and not so much. So what we have been experiencing has been his death, which had its own set of rituals. Then we have his funeral, which was a wonderfully, I don't want to say condensed. It was more of a pared down version of a papal funeral, because I did go back and look at previous papal funerals, and they were definitely a little bit more flashy. His was very appropriate to who he was. And I think that's important. Every pope does put a stamp on what you see after their death. And Pope Francis is no exception. So he has been buried at Santa Maria Maggiore in Rome, which is about a half an hour as the crow flies from Vatican City. And that's where he will rest. And it's a very simple tomb. In fact, a friend of mine was there a couple days ago and took this picture so that you could see what it looks like. It's very simple compared to papal burial places. So now this is the last day of what they call the Novum Dialis, or the 9 days of official mourning, Nova 9. It's also a novena, and I know I've put that up on our Taunton Catholic North site. for all of our folks to pray in the last 9 days. So this is the last official day of that. From here on out now, we are going to be turning towards things conclave. Now, that doesn't mean for the last 9 days they've just been mourning. The College of Cardinals has been in general conferences. And sincerely, that is where the work gets done. That is where all 252 cardinals, if they're there, I know there are a few who are ill, but the cardinals that are there, whether they can vote or not, come together and talk about the church in their region and how all of that needs to be considered. So they're already doing their homework as we speak. And of course, if you're in America, there is much speculation in the press about who's going to be the next pope. I mean, there's even an app for that. And it's not American, thank God, it's Italian. In the church, it's really a more collegial atmosphere. They all kind of know each other, but they don't really know each other. So when they come into general conference, this is what they do. They get to know each other, where each other is from, the reasons, why they will back particular things. And they start to see men who are speaking who could embody what the church is looking for. Now, they can either go the same route as Francis, someone who was looking at our church as a missionary church, as a church that goes out to the immigrants, to those who need us. Or they could be looking for someone who is more traditional, who would uphold the theology more, a little bit more heady. They could be looking for a diplomat, somebody who has been to a lot of countries and knows more of the world climate. This is where the Holy Spirit takes over. The Holy Spirit is guiding them to whom they will choose. So that's what we would call the politicking, the looking for the traits that would serve as a good pope for this time in history. Some of them will be looking for someone who is older, because some do not like when pontificates last a long time. Now, Pope Francis, his pontificate lasted 12 years. Okay, Pope John Paul's lasted 20 years. There have been popes that have lasted 30 years, and that really shapes the church. Pope John the 23rd lasted 4 years, and they thought because of his age he wouldn't do anything. Surprise, he did. That's where we get Vatican II from. He's the one who called the council and opened the council back in 1963. Gee, that was a long time ago, and I was 4 years old when that happened. So there have been quite a few popes since then in shorter periods of time. Of course, the shortest one was Pope John Paul I for 31 days, but I'm not going anywhere near conspiracy theories on that one. So this is where we are at the moment. What can we as a laity do? That's the key. What do we do? Pray. When we cannot do anything else, when we cannot influence anything else, our best bet is to pray. And there is a great website that will help you to pray, not just for the entire College of Cardinals, but for a cardinal in particular. It is called Adopt a Cardinal. Yes, I know. It sounds a little cheesy. Its actual URL is praycardinal.com. praycardinal.com. And when you go there, you will find a website that is pretty simple, and it has a random name generator on it, a little button that'll say adopt a cardinal, and you hit it, and up will pop one of the cardinals that's eligible to be pope. If you don't know him, you can read about him. I will say it's not a bad thing for us to do, because this is our job as laity. We need to pray. We need to pray for the best man who's going to become our pope. So that's what we can do. Now, tomorrow I will come back here and I will talk a little bit more about the College of Cardinals, who they are, how many there are, how many will vote, and lead you to another place where you can get a little bit more education. So hopefully you'll follow me for this series. I will continue through the conclave, bringing you up to the minute as much as I can. Because remember, the conclave for us in America, the first sessions are going to be in the morning there, but in the middle of the night here. So give me a break. And once we do have a pope, I hope to do my, as it's happening, reactions to what's going on. So hopefully you'll stay with me, get something out of it. But in the meantime, our job as laity is to pray. Until next time I see you, ciao for now.